Hi, my name is Connor, and I work as a gynecologist at a small private clinic in the suburbs of Los Angeles. I know many people are surprised when they find out about my profession. Like, how can a man be a gynecologist? But I've always been interested in helping women take care of their health, so I've never regretted my choice. Over the years of practice, I thought I'd seen it all. The stories women tell during appointments can sometimes be more exciting than any TV series. But overall, my job is pretty routine. Examinations, tests, consultations. Sometimes, of course, there are curious cases, but mostly everything is quite predictable. That's what I thought until recently. Until one morning, something happened that completely turned my life upside down. But first things first. That day started as usual. I arrived at the clinic at the beginning of the workday, changed into my medical gown, and began studying the list of patients for today. Nothing unusual, a couple of routine checkups, a few contraception consultations, one IVF preparation. The usual routine in a word. I was just finishing my morning coffee and reviewing the medical history of my first patient when there was a knock at the door. This was strange. My assistant Judy usually came in without knocking. I glanced at the clock. There were still about 15 minutes before the appointment started. "Come in," I shouted, wondering who could be brought in so early. The door opened, and the last woman I expected to see here appeared on the threshold, my ex-mother-in-law in person. "Lily?" I exhaled, jumping up from my chair. "What a surprise! What are you doing here?" It's not that we broke up badly after my divorce from her daughter Kate, but we didn't try to maintain close relations after that either. We occasionally exchanged greetings on holidays, nothing more. And then suddenly, such a visit. "Hi, Connor," Lily smiled, entering the office. "Sorry for not warning you. I need a specialist consultation, and you're the best in our city." I was speechless at this statement, and Lily, meanwhile, sat down on the visitor's chair, as if nothing had happened, and crossed her legs. I involuntarily glanced over her figure and was surprised to note that my mother-in-law looked even better than at our last meeting a few years ago. Slim, toned, in a tight-fitting dress and high-heeled shoes, more like a daughter's friend than a mother. "Well then," I finally found myself clearing my throat, "then go to the examination room, undress, and lie down. Let's see what you have there." Lily gracefully rose and went into the next room, and I hesitated, trying to collect my thoughts. It's not that I've never had fantasies about my former mother-in-law. After all, I'm a living person, and she's an attractive woman. But it's one thing to imagine something like that in your head, and quite another to face it in real life. "So, Connor, pull yourself together," I mentally chided myself. "You're a professional after all. This is just another examination, nothing more." Taking a deep breath and putting on my usual friendly smile, I entered the examination room. Lily was already lying on the couch, covered with a sheet. I involuntarily swallowed, seeing the outlines of her body under the thin fabric, but quickly pulled myself together. "So, Lily, what's the complaint?" I started cheerfully, sitting down on a chair between her spread legs. After all, this is just a normal medical examination, right? How wrong I was. The examination proceeded as usual. I checked the condition of the mucous membranes, took a swab for analysis, consulted Lily on the main issues of women's health. I tried to maintain the most businesslike tone, although inappropriate thoughts kept popping into my head against my will. Still, it had been a long time since I had such an attractive patient. When I finished and moved away from the couch, Lily unexpectedly caught my hand. I looked at her in surprise. Usually, patients don't allow themselves such familiarity. "You have such gentle and strong hands, Connor," Lily purred, stroking my palm. "You can immediately see that you are a real professional." My mouth went dry from her touch and the tone in which she said it. The tension in the air was so palpable that it could be cut with a knife. "Okay, buddy, you better stop this right now," I thought feverishly, trying to free my hand. But instead, for some reason, I said, "Maybe we can continue the conversation in my office. I could examine you more thoroughly." Damn, what came over me? It seems that my brain and my libido have conspired to completely ruin my reputation and career. But it was too late to back down. Lily smoothly rose from the couch, wrapping the sheet around her hips like a skirt. She smiled at me with the most seductive smile from her arsenal. "With pleasure, doctor. Lead the way." I felt hot from that smile and her suggestive tone. What was I thinking? Leading my ex-mother-in-law, the mother of my ex-wife, into my office. But the blood was already pounding in my ears, drowning out the voice of reason, come what may. As soon as I closed the office door behind me, I quickly turned the key in the lock. I wouldn't want anyone to come in at the most inopportune moment. I turned to Lily and froze, struck by the sight before me. She had already gotten rid of her makeshift skirt, staying in only lace lingerie. The lingerie was red and surprisingly suited to her slightly flushed face and tousled chestnut curls. Her magnificent bust beckoned invitingly above the edge of her bra, and I involuntarily swallowed, feeling how tight my pants were becoming. "Lily," I began hoarsely, taking a step toward her, but she didn't let me finish. Crossing the distance between us in 2 steps, Lily kissed me hungrily, pressing her whole body against me, and I gave in. After all, I'm only human, and she is a fatal woman that any normal man would drool over. The kiss grew hotter, and our hands greedily roamed each other's bodies. I don't know how we ended up on the couch. I think on the way we knocked over a couple of chairs and swept a stack of medical records off my desk. Whatever, I'll sort it out later. Now my world had shrunk to the size of this woman. Her burning skin under my fingers, her intoxicating kisses, her demanding touches. I never thought I would do something like this in the workplace, let alone with my ex-mother-in-law, but now I didn't care anymore. Like obsessed, we caressed each other, with hands, with lips. I think Lily was whispering something in my ear, some phrases that made my blood boil. Or maybe it just seemed to me through the noise in my ears and the frantic beating of my heart. I don't know how long it lasted. Time seemed to stop. There were only our bodies, moving in one frenzied rhythm, and then the world exploded with a firework of blinding pleasure. For a moment, I seemed to dissolve, cease to exist. Only waves of pure, incomparable pleasure remained. Lily was the first to come to her senses. While I was lying on the couch, staring blankly at the ceiling and trying to catch my breath, she deftly slipped out of my embrace and began to dress hastily. I propped myself up on my elbow, watching her with some bewilderment. "And what was that?" I asked when Lily had buttoned the last button on her blouse and began to tidy her tousled hair. She turned to me and smiled, this time just friendly, without a hint of flirting. "Thanks for the consultation, Dr. Connor. You really are the best specialist in your field." I snorted, shaking my head. What a sly fox. Did she plan to get me into bed under the guise of an examination from the very beginning? However, it was a sin to complain. "Always at your service, Mrs. Lilly," I replied jokingly, sitting up on the couch. "I hope you want to get the test results?" She laughed out loud, heading for the door. "Absolutely, doctor. I hope they'll be ready in a couple of days. If something is wrong, you will contact me, right?" With these words, Lily winked at me and disappeared behind the door, leaving me alone to digest what had happened. I flopped back onto the couch with a groan, rubbing my face with my hands. What a day. This had never happened to me before. However, strangely enough, I didn't feel much regret. After all, we are both adults, and what happened didn't oblige us to anything. I knew for sure that it was a one-time thing, an unexpected flash that illuminated our routine. But neither Lily nor I clearly planned to return to this. Besides, as they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, or in my case, what happens in the gynecological office stays in the gynecological office. Just another work story that I might share someday with friends over a bottle of beer. I won't name names, of course. Doctor-patient confidentiality and all that. Smirking at my own thoughts, I got up from the couch and began to tidy up the office, picking up scattered papers, putting furniture back in place. Work is work, and personal life is personal life. And it's good when they don't intersect too often. Otherwise, you'll have a lot of trouble later. With these thoughts, I finished cleaning up, changed into a clean robe. The old one somehow inexplicably ended up torn almost in half. And when did we even manage that? And left the office. Judy looked at me in surprise over her glasses. "Everything okay, Dr. Connor? You look a bit disheveled." And Mrs. Lilly just left with a strange expression on her face. I smiled broadly, patting my assistant on the shoulder. "Everything is just fine, Judy. No cause for concern. Who's next on the list?" My life returned to its usual routine: patients, tests, consultations. I became just a competent doctor, immersed in my beloved work again. But sometimes, in rare moments of quiet, I caught myself thinking that I was smiling, remembering that crazy episode with Lily. Well, everyone should have something like that in their life, right? The main thing is to put an end to it in time and move on. Lily and I didn't meet anymore. We only occasionally exchanged meaningless pleasantries over the phone or email. Her test results were completely fine, and there was no reason for a new meeting. And we didn't really strive for it, to be honest. So life went on as usual. I've even recently started dating a nice girl. I think her name is Cindy or Sandy. Damn, I always confuse them. But that's a completely different story. And the story with Lily remained a curious episode, one of many in my collection of medical experience. Although, I won't hide it, one of the brightest and most memorable. And yet, it's better to leave it in the past and not stir it up. After all, I'm a doctor, not a romantic hero, and I like it that way. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.